So welcome everybody
Oh,
to another episode, I guess the second episode of the Oil Rig Podcast, or as we like to call it, the TORP.
the
With the
infamous torp. It's gaining steam, you know.
Yes, people are talking about it. People say it's the next best thing. Uh,
It's
so
almost as good as watching the Oilers, right?
this is way better.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Uh,
so for everyone who we might not remember us from either our first episode or from the Shore Live Fuel and Fire podcast. I'm FaZe, and I'm joined with Greg.
yeah, it wasn't that short-lived. We had like a good year.
I guess maybe, yeah.
Year of
Time
fuel and
flies
fun.
when you're having fun.
I know, wow. Yeah,
Uh,
it's easy to laugh when you're winning.
yeah,
More
exactly.
more than whoever you're talking to, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, speaking about winning, I mean, I guess other than last night's game, the Oilers were on a bit of a heater there.
Well, yeah, without ever winning 3 in a row, but
This is
there's
insane.
there's positive signs. Even the Canucks have won 3 in a row, right? I
Yeah,
think
but
every
that's
team, yeah.
the only three games they won this season, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I think St. Louis also hasn't won three
Oh,
games, in a row, is what I
wow.
heard. So
Hmm.
that's
I
something.
I have not been following the Blues closely enough to confirm or deny.
I saw a tweet about it, so I'm just gonna run with it.
Nice, nice.
It is kind of nuts that the team is second in the Pacific, tied for the most wins in the Pacific,
Right.
and is hasn't won three in a row. Like
Yeah.
it's is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Like
Yeah, I mean, I would say like this team, like especially the core, like they've proven so much that I would lean to more towards it's like a good thing that well, like we know they can do it. We know they can get rolling, you know, like it would be different if this was a team that like say the Oilers like of 7 years ago where they're missing the playoffs and you're
yeah,
like, that would I think be more of a bad sign. But this team, yeah, I don't know. I would say I'm super kind of encouraged by a lot of what has been going on, especially like the defensive performances. Starting to see just kind of more of a lockdown effort from the Oilers.
yeah. I mean, is that just from the defense playing better? Or, again, a favorite topic, at least for
The
the next one.
goals.
We're still hang on the goaltending a little bit, but in a good sense this time. Like
Y- Yeah,
it's
it's got
making
to
a
be
difference.
both.
Yeah.
It's got to be both. And I mean, like this team, especially in the last like 3 or 4 years, they've been one of the best like expected goals teams. They've been really playing at a high level and to the point where uh, they went to back finals with a goaltending tandem that people hated. So it is. I think we've seen it kind of dip in the last couple of years. I saw some talks about this, like maybe the 22-23 team was actually the best. If you look at this number, that number, maybe the team's been kind of like eroding some of their like because they had crazy like expected goal shares and stuff. Like it's a bit back down to earth a bit, but I don't know. I don't know. I think we're starting to see like a legitimate ramp up to a more cohesive Oilers team here in the back half. As and we shouldn't be surprised. Like it always seems to be the case.
We do this every we do this every freaking year. Like, yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. And I mean, I don't know, like the team, the depth is, obviously in the two games, I guess three games that Draisaitl's been out, I felt like the rest of the team has stepped up. Um, I know yesterday's game, the first period was kind of not great to,
Yeah, that's the New Jersey game. It's like
yeah, but
halfway
like,
through, the shots are 7-7.
yeah, exactly. But they start to get their chances after, and I mean, we can say that the Oilers got goalied, and to a certain extent they did. But I mean, Jari played well. That one save on shorthanded chance.
Right, right. The windmill with the two pad stack. That was great.
I was actually yeah, I was at the game, my friend and I managed to get, like, row 13 seats on that side of the ice, and so I was right there for that, and the pass goes across, and you're like in your head, like, "This is a goal." And then you
Right.
just see the motion, and you're like, "What a" one thing I'll say about staying that low too is, you just appreciate how fast the game actually is, like, you can't fully put it together even watching in the upper bowl, and, that's kinda something I was thinking about is just, like, we're like, "Oh, how did you make such a stupid move or that bad pass or something?" Because when you're watching on TV, you watch from that up high, you think there's so much more time. You get that close and you start to see it, and I feel like you can understand a lot more of these decisions that people are always harping about. And, like, I
Mm,
get they're professionals on both sides, so that's not necessarily an excuse per se. But I do kind of can see the thought process at times, and then, is it fair to be looking at every single mistake and be like, "That's a that's that player, the player sucks," like,
uh,
I think it was, like, Bouchard, like, made one, pass across that got blocked, and, like, another play, like, nothing crazy bad, but everyone's, like, just jawing him in the crowd, and then I think it was on the power play, but he makes this one amazing knockdown, and it's like, everyone's just like, "Oh, yeah, good job, Bouchard," and I'm like, "Where's the same energy? If you're gonna give him the bad energy for bad plays, you
um,
gotta."
people like to boo. They don't want to admit it, but
Yeah,
they
exactly,
like
it's
to be
easy to hate.
upset. Like to be angry. They like to say, "Oh, why would you do X, Y, or Z? I'm so much smarter," or whatever.
Well, and I mean, I think part of it too is like, when it comes to the Oilers, like we have McDavid, we've gone to the finals twice in a row. There's been this expectation since 2017 that we should have at least one cup by now. So I almost feel like fans it's stressed in the sense of you're like, like fans are like, I don't know when this train's going to come to an end. We need to win a cup. Uh, I don't know. It's just funny. Like, just, we're all in group chats and stuff, and every single bad play, everyone's harping. And I find group chats are always the quietest when the team is playing well. I just,
Yeah, yeah. Well, what are you gonna say? Who are you gonna complain about?
I mean, you could say good things, maybe.
Nah, it's true. It's true. I mean, I definitely like. It's important to. I think the last couple of years, like leading into the playoffs, I've kind of taken this tone of like, this is. I know the Oilers haven't actually got it done and won a cup, but like, this is amazing as a fan. Lots
Yeah.
of people cheer for teams that have never seen the Stanley Cup final or something to that effect. And yeah, I mean, that's the classic, the expectations, the pressure is a privilege or whatever. I mean, I saw some crazy, like some cross sport news of the Bills
Oh,
had
yeah.
like a big postseason press conference today, and yeah, I mean, when the expectation is like, "Hey, we're gonna win the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup, or we're not gonna be happy," it can get cutthroat, you know. And the margins are thin, and people get cutthroat, get cutthroat about it.
Yeah, exactly. I
There's
mean,
no love lost.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, but I think the team, I do think in the last little while, the team has obviously started to turn around, like, including yesterday's game. Now they're 5-2-2 in their last nine. Like, they
Yeah.
outscored in the 8 games before yesterday, and I am just reading my oil check article, basically word from word here. But, in those 8 games, they outscored in the 5 wins, sorry, they outscored the opponents 25-6. So, like, and they
Convincing.
lost the 3 games were just by 1 goal. So, like, they're definitely humming, I think. Um, and I mean, with Draisaitl out, like, obviously, the circumstances are awful. You'd hate to see that, but the one thing you're seeing is the rest of the team stepping up, and I think we even saw it kind of in every year, if at any point, like, we've always talked about how when McDavid, if he's injured, suspended, out of the lineup, whatever, Draisaitl really steps up. But
Right.
I think the rest of the team also steps up, and I think in this case, this is what you're seeing here is the rest of the team stepping up, and it's I think it's a good thing. You give these guys some of that more responsibility. They can see that they can do it, and they don't have to necessarily rely on the
Right.
2, on McDry, and now they have some confidence going in, and I think you're seeing that, like, Ike Howard has really impressed me the last, like, 3 games. I don't know about you, but I've been really impressed. I think he's been buzzing, and
Uh-huh. Since our last pod, he
you know who else has been playing pretty decent since our last pod? Veteran.
Yeah, no, I've
Y
seen lots of love for how he's been playing recently, and even that line as a whole, right? With
yeah.
Roslovic and Savoy. I'm still kind of unsure about Roslovic as a long-term center. It's nice to have some flexibility here, but
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
know.
if it's a line that works, is it really that big of a deal? Then if they're all feeding off of each other, like, Savoy can be the that defense conscious winger for him if that's the need, but I don't
If
know.
that's what it
They're
takes.
meshing, so
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's exactly what you want to see. I think maybe even from the start of the season, it's been kind of a background talking point of you have Savoy and Howard and Hudson and even other players like Glamberg who have stepped in. There's a lot of
mhm,
young players that are kind of like starting to infuse themselves into this lineup. I mean, on the back end, Emerson, regular,
yeah,
like there's, but this kind of increased confidence down the stretch of like, hey, maybe they're not going to hit the ground running, but as the season goes, maybe they'll start getting more and more comfortable, start producing a bit more, and then that would obviously at every step forward that any one of those players takes, like really makes a huge difference to this lineup, especially
totally.
like in an NHL where it's hard to trade, it's hard to add salary. The Oilers are right up against the cap. It's like
Mhm.
getting that kind of built-in internal development is such a cheat code, really.
Yeah. No, totally. It definitely is. So that's the depth that we need, and yeah, like, they're young guys, they weren't gonna necessarily come and set the world on fire like we kinda had hoped, but I don't know. And yeah, like we talked about Janmark, Lazar, you've got those veterans who just have those motors going. I think that helps spark some things. I don't know, man. It's looking pretty decent. Even yesterday's game, like, not obviously disappointing, but I think they turned it around a bit, and you're not gonna be perfect every game, I guess. Oilers positives, but we're out of the moral victory area, I know, but still.
Never. I'm never. I'm always in the moral victory game. Yeah, especially before the regular season. Like, yeah, to see the goaltending and the defensive play come together, and
Yeah.
these young guys stepping up, it's like they're gonna win three in a row eventually. But yeah, it's looking promising. It's looking quite promising. Um, yeah. Uh, so you referenced the oil check article
Mhm.
that you wrote.
Yeah.
You've been working on anything else this week?
No, I haven't really thought of things. I know Sean's kind of I came up with a lot of Olympic ideas, and Sean's like, "That's great, but we don't need that until February."
I'll
Uh,
save that.
yeah.
I got a little Olympic thought in just because it was announced that Jonas Brodin is not going to be able to
Oh,
go
yeah.
for Sweden,
Yeah.
or likely not able. I'm not his doctor.
You're not?
No, no.
This is brand new information.
Yeah, no. So well, I talked about is Ekholm going to be
Yeah.
a potential replacement there? Oh, hello, Lexi. How's it
Hey, Alexi.
going?
Hello. I walk in and hear Ekholm replacement, and I'm thinking it's got to be Team Sweden because
That's what
Oh,
everybody
you're
yeah.
thinking
probably
it
knows
is,
how
right?
No,
they're
we're
going to be
talking.
decimated. Like, you know how last year with the Four Nations, like Finland lost half their roster before they could even play a game? It's giving me serious vibes of that.
Well,
Hmm,
because the States lost, Seth Jones.
right.
Who shouldn't have been down on the
Yeah,
roster to
they
begin with.
replaced him with a better defenseman in Lacombe.
Yes. Thank you.
But
I mean, regarding Sweden's injury, before I get more into the Ekholm thing, is like Finland last year at the Four Nations. I think like just because of the state of the Finnish blue line, losing
Yeah.
Heiskanen is like the most irreplaceable player they have. I would argue that, it might be the same way with Carlson down the middle for Sweden, where it seems like he's not going to be able to go. And they don't really have a lot of, I mean, it's the weakest spot on their team. Their
Yeah.
center depth is like, you're hoping that Elias Pettersson figures it out. And Mika Zibanejad is maybe the 1C. And it's their thinnest spot because their blue line, with or without
Yeah.
Ekholm, can compete with Canada or the US, like with the best of them. Their wingers, there's a lot to work with. Their center is, so yeah, Carlson is a huge injury for them. Whereas Brodin, they have a lot of options. And Ekholm certainly makes a lot of sense. He was on that Four Nations team. He was partnered with Carlson. I mean, having that defensive conscious with Eric Carlson, there's a lot of
Yeah.
Carlsons. I should, having like a left shot defensive minded player to pair with Eric Carlson is a role that they've already trusted Ekholm in.
Yeah.
But from an Oilers perspective, I mean, as a fan of Ekholm, you want to see him make the team because he wants to. But from an Oilers perspective, Ekholm was really beat up last year, even like down the stretch into the playoffs. Like him not going might actually be better for the team. Even though definitely as fans, you want to support his goals of being on the team and winning gold, maybe. Depending on how patriotic you feel,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess my only concern of that was like, I'm pretty sure when we traded for Ekholm, one of the reasons, if I'm not mistaken, was he didn't get injured a whole lot from what I remember during his time in Nashville.
Mhm.
So like I guess that is a concern that he's getting older and injuries might come around a little more, but at the same time you almost wonder if like maybe this series actually back up the workhorse Ekholm or maybe not. It would still serve him well to go to the Olympics and you still get a few days off before and a few days off after the event. So
Yeah, I mean, although isn't it like only 3 days from the I think the gold medal game or the Olympics ending to when the first regular
Right.
season
I
game
heard
starts?
that.
really,
It's
I
a
mean,
quick turnaround, yeah.
we're Canadian, so we're only worried about Connor McDavid having that issue, I'm sure. Uh,
well,
but
and Leon though, because like Germany low-key might be able to hang in a couple of games. Offensively, especially, like they got Draisaitl, they got Stützle, they got Szymanski, they've got a lot of more Sider, they've got a lot of
yeah,
offensive talent on the team. They might make some noise.
it's gonna be goaltending that like it always is in these tournaments, whether it's for any of these, like, smaller teams, if you wanna call them that, or, less.
Yeah, Germany's relying
Underdog
on
teams.
Grubauer,
Yeah.
so that's a choice. That's one where you're like, please give us the good Gru and not the bad Gru.
Yeah, exactly. You don't trust Maximilian Franzreb or Matthias Niederberger?
Ooh,
Yes, I
I
knew
I
Niederberger.
wouldn't
off of my
I
head, I
wouldn't be
swore I
opposed to
wasn't
giving them
looking
a
at it.
look.
Oh, man, I'm gonna be I can't remember, was it, it wasn't one of you was it Sean? Someone was writing an article about, like, all the former Oilers that made it to, like, the
Right.
Olympic teams, like, how there's so many Jacket of Darkness ones, and I was really bored, and I just went through every single roster and, like, to try and see if I could find random connections, and the closest I could find was one guy on Latvia, I think it was, who played 3 games with the Condors or something, but
Like
that was a deep
A
dive
deep
out of
cut.
into these
nowhere.
names, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, because Germany Canada final, I guess.
Could you imagine?
Who would
That
we
would be
root
good.
for in that scenario?
I think it's
And
good. You still have to be Canadian. Like, I think you got to root for your country.
Yeah, I guess though, like it would kind of be that best of both worlds kind of thing where like even if the team you're rooting for loses, shucks, like the other team deserved it. I kind of felt the same way about 2024, and this was before the Panthers became like really egotistical and full of themselves. I was initially okay with it. Like, hey, we went 7 games with them. They haven't won a cup yet. Let them have their fun. I just did not want it happening the next year.
Definitely not. I mean, yeah, I think I think we talked about it in the last podcast, but just the one tweet I saw of like, I wonder why Sam Bennett didn't make it to Team Canada, and it's just they just clipped the video of him yelling "fuck McDavid" over and over again.
Oh no.
But I mean, is Sam Bennett now gonna make Team Canada? You guys think with it
Well,
points
there's
out?
lots of time left for people to get injured, and this is this was a big point in my Ekholm article.
Yeah,
Is that you might argue that, hey, maybe Ekholm is the first replacement for Brodin. Maybe that's who you would pick. Maybe it's not who you would pick. I might go with Edvinson personally, but uh, but just a couple hours ago, we have Ekman Larson leaving the game with an injury, so it's gonna keep piling up until the tournament starts. There's gonna be some twists and turns still left. So
well, because
anyone
even
who's kind of on that short list, I heard Darcy Kemper went out.
yeah,
Is there going to be room for another Canadian goalie? Maybe one that plays for Edmonton.
yeah.
Maybe Hyman is an option. Like there's still kind of going to be lots of Oilers that could end up making a team somewhere,
Well, because I mean, you've got what 3 weeks now to the Olympics, something like that.
roughly.
Yeah, about 3 weeks ish.
Yeah, I don't know what day it is.
Ninth, I think I read. But
Well, that the conspiracy theory though as well, and like why they might not be going Panther heavy as much with the
Mhm.
Olympics this year is literally everybody on the team is getting wrecked. Like earlier today, they were talking that Nico Mikola was also potentially injured, but apparently that's a more day-to-day thing. But like it would mean if you do put Sam Bennett on the list now, you're basically hoping and praying he doesn't fall victim to the injury bug that's been going around that team the entire season. That's like you have that one team in the NHL that just randomly for 1 year they get every single injury, and it's Florida this
I'm I mean, I'm not saying it's karma, but I'm not saying it's karma.
all I would say is they've made 3 deep runs in a row, and that's going to take out
Oh
any
yeah,
team that does that.
yeah. Like I mean, Matthew Tkachuk like sold his body, I think, for those 2 cups. I mean, uh, I don't know. I mean, he stood up okay against that hit to Desharnais. I think. I don't think he.
Oh, Vinny.
But yeah,
Once an Oiler, always an Oiler.
exactly. But no, but to
I
your point, Lexi, like I think you're right, but I think they don't actually have to like necessarily announce the replacements like up until like a certain day. So they're probably telling these guys like, listen, get ready, maybe book a flight or something like that. Keep peeing in that cup, then the Olympic guy shows up. But like I think they're not gonna actually make any announcements until they absolutely have to. Cause yeah, like could you imagine you make an announcement, the guy gets hurt the next day as well, and you're like, now I gotta call the next guy on the list.
All right. So much for that announcement. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do we want to pivot away from some Olympics and get into something else,
Yeah,
something
sure.
more Oilers specific?
Yeah, because we can get into Olympics in like later
Yeah.
episodes probably. Like,
Yeah. Well, it'll be on the back burner. We'll always have something. I mean,
yeah.
it's part of being a good team. You have lots of good players.
And like, so you got anything you want to talk about? Did you read anything interesting? We were talking about how like maybe we should talk about our like articles and stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, the post games are pretty interesting to write, like with especially this season, because the way I put it in a reply to Kevin McCurdy, who is the son of the late great journal writer Bruce McCurdy, I
Mhm.
absolutely loved reading his stuff throughout the course of my lifetime at the Cole of Hockey. Um, Kevin was posting something about like this team's never going to win 3 games in a row ever again, and that seems to be the sentiment around oil country. And the way I put it is, it's like they're trying a Mr. Beast challenge where it's like you win the Stanley Cup if you win your division, but the caveat is in winning your division you cannot win more than 2 games in a row or you're eliminated. That's literally what this season feels like. It's just one giant Mr. Beast challenge.
It could be it. Or they're just like, you know what? If we win 2 out of every 3, we will still win the cup in the playoffs. So
And I mean, of all the years to try to win the division without winning 3 in a row, it's this year because the Pacific Division, let's be frank, started off okay, but now it's just absolutely mid tier.
yeah,
Like Vegas is the only one that's right up there with Edmonton. The Ducks and Sharks and Kings all trailed off. Vancouver is objectively garbage. The Flames are less so garbage, but not by their own volition because the owner insists on trying to compete for 10th place in the conference.
they're garbage at being garbage.
And then the Kraken, I never know what to make of the Kraken. One day they look like the 2023 version of themselves that nearly went to the conference final, and then the other next day they just look lost. So I don't know. Like this is the year objectively to win the division. It's infuriating though they can't win more than 2 games in a row because if they had even just one winning streak, they'd be leading the division by 10 points.
Okay, but do you really want to win the division? Like when you
And
think
get a
about it,
wild card.
get the wild card. Like, I mean, granted, it looks like because right now the wild card is Utah, San Jose, um, or like if Seattle keeps going. I mean, they've dropped off now recently. Like if you have that second spot, you're playing likely one of Anaheim, San Jose, and Seattle, maybe. But I don't know. Then as long as you're in the top 3 in the Pacific, you're staying in the Pacific for the first 2 rounds for sure. Whereas if you win the division, is there a risk? I
My
don't know.
main thing, like everybody just keeps talking about the Oilers haven't won the division since spring Paul Coffey played for us.
Right.
So I think that's the major narrative. Major reason is get rid of that narrative. But also, like, you look at the Central, and sure, they've got 3 world beaters. They've got Minnesota, Colorado, Dallas. You don't want to play either of them. The thing is, they're likely not getting a wild card this year. If they do, like, it's probably going to be wild card too because they're after the top 3. Their teams are no better than what's in the Pacific. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, yeah, I don't think winning the division necessarily puts us at a disadvantage because you're gonna end up playing a team that's gonna have come into the playoffs fighting for their lives.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, to have a little pushback, just because I'm probably positive on the not winning 3 in a row, is that this season with a condensed schedule, I think not that there's necessarily such a thing as a scheduled loss, but you're seeing lots of things like that around the league where teams, there's not many good road records around the league. There's not many good back-to-backs. It's like kind of a third of your games, you are kind of in a very disadvantageous position where there's a back-to-back with travel or something. And especially for a team like the Oilers, where they're slow starting and there was a lot of moving parts at the start of the season and maybe some bigger issues with um, certain areas of the team where like I can kind of understand how we're ending up in this position, and it's not necessarily that frustrating to me that um, that there have been a lot of kind of disappointing nights. And I think like if you're really focused on one team and not necessarily around the whole league, like I think this is a trend this year where lots of teams are kind of um, once a week there's a game that you just want to throw out or burn the tape, or, like I
Except
find,
Yeah,
Colorado.
unless you're Colorado, you've suffered
well,
a loss at some point or your fan base is throwing their arms up in the air about.
Like
yeah,
21-3 at home. That is nutso.
right, yeah.
Like they are 1 win away from guaranteeing an over 500 record at home for the season.
Bloody hell. And yet Nashville was the first team to beat Colorado in regulation on home ice and do so convincingly. Like this is a bonkers season.
It really is.
Yeah, me. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think I'll go for it.
yeah, I'll just get back to the whole point of like this season being so weird and
Mhm.
the fact that we can't win more than 3 in a row. It becomes more of a roller coaster, I'd say, because you write the Vancouver post game, you're feeling great. Okay, 6-0. That's what we should be doing. You write the St. Louis post game. Hey, they got a win for Nugent-Hopkins in his 1000th game. I've got a placard from that game actually. I keep meaning to put up. And so you come into a game against New Jersey. Okay, New Jersey can't score. So this has to be one that we should win. And Jake Allen. And it's so weird because Jake Allen has tormented this franchise for as long as I can remember. He probably plays a hand in why I have always not liked St. Louis. Because I mentioned in the post game last night, the whole 2016 trend. Well, yeah, it's pretty well felt like 2016. We go play Jake Allen and he stonewalls us.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I
Some
remember
You
when
things
never
never
know.
change.
Name the game.
I remember there was like the discussion about when he was like on the trade block, and I think that was one of the things. It was like just trade for him so we don't have to play against him anymore. It's
Right,
not even that we want him.
Yeah, I would have had no issue with that solely for that reason.
I mean, apparently, in 25 games, apparently he's only 14-9-2 against us with a 912 save percentage and a 249 goals against. So like good, but
Only 14-9-2. I wonder, like, some of those losses have to have been games where his team just cannot score in front of him, like the Devil most nights nowadays. And
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he went through a bit of the same blue balling in St. Louis because pre-2019, that was a thing of the Blues. Well, they were really hard to get goals against, but their offensive talent themselves, it was like Ryan O'Reilly and Paul Stas and like a few other good players,
I will
but
not
no,
hear
like,
any slander against Paul Stasny.
that's why I exclude him from the few good players random call.
Okay.
Paul Stastny is awesome. I loved seeing him play, but other than that, like, they were pretty starved for offense too. And the fact that he put up like sub 2.5 goals against and over 910 face percentage says all you need to know about it. It's like
Yeah.
one of the best goals against Edmonton specifically.
Well, him and
McDavid's
Kenny
kryptonite. Yeah,
flashback at goalie.
At least we don't have to play Sorokin and Allen again this season. Thank God.
right, right.
Because I mean, there's a thing like there's huge home stand. Obviously, one of the stories. I mean, getting 4 teams on a back to back in a row. Um,
Wow.
I don't know. Again, like just kind of weird facts. I don't know if any of that's important. Nuge's game.
Right.
I'm not sure if there's anything specific to talk about.
Oh, we could do like favorite Nugent-Hopkins memory,
Oh yes, okay, let's do that. Yeah, that'd
and
be
Lexi would be really good at that too.
yeah, yeah.
Um.
Also,
Yeah.
did we get a good conversation on the Echo one? I feel like we kind of bounced around. Oh, we did.
We said a lot.
We
We
said a
said a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
I feel like the one that we brushed by too quickly is Jari maybe being a replacement option for Team Canada.
I mean, that's it. Let me tell you, that's a team. That's a gold medal winning save, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Throwback.
It will be interesting to see, like, especially, no, not to disparage Crosby and the Pens, but like it's been some tougher spots for
Yeah.
Jari, and maybe if he was on the Oilers the whole time, we would be talking about like, oh, look at these sterling numbers. Like, there's no way they could leave him off. He's got great chemistry with McDavid.
Exactly.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
No, it's definitely possible. I mean, the other thing too, though, is like Ingram. Like it really is. We really are in a situation where I think we have like a 1A, 1B like tandem right now.
Right.
Like I don't think like I think they're gonna keep going like they're probably gonna keep swapping starts or maybe slowly get Jari to be taking more of them up. But I think to your point, then if there's a goalie need, I don't think Jari gets it on the basis that he's not the starting goalie necessarily for the Oilers, among many
Right.
other reasons. But like
I guess, yeah. I mean,
Or he's fresh for the Olympics. You could look at it the other way.
yeah, no, it would be obviously it's pointless to think about now, but you know, if Jari was on the Oilers the last couple of years, might they have two cups? Might Evan Bouchard and Jari be locks for the
Zach
Canadian
Hyman.
Olympic team? Zach Hyman, like it changes a lot of things. Just 3 wins, you know.
Even
Yeah.
Connor Ingram, like,
Yeah.
I included a Coyotes tweet in the postgame for St. Louis because
Well,
the in March 2024, the Coyotes tweeted like now he's tied for the NHL lead in shutouts. We could have maybe used him. We could have maybe gone to Arizona and been like, hey, we know you've fallen off the map a little bit here lately. We can trade for your goalie and give you a couple futures and think of what we do in the Stanley Cup final with Ingram that was leading the regular season in shutouts towards the end
right.
of the year.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a
but
good
also,
point.
would they be playing that well, with Edmonton back then? Like Jari kind of had to go through he went through a pretty big rough patch, like in last year
Yeah,
getting
it
waived and
was
stuff.
tough.
Maybe sometimes that lights a fire under your butt. I mean, it's always hard to say, right? Maybe in that
Yeah,
situation, we do end up giving up on Skinner way too early and he goes somewhere and, mm, you know, those flaws in his game are maybe not as exposed. Maybe they're identified a
Maybe
little
he
bit.
gets Utah to the playoffs in their first season last year.
Maybe if they play Dallas every game, yeah.
yeah, exactly. um, but it has led to some interesting comments from Pickard today, right?
Yeah.
And mm,
Like that was like I don't think he meant it in a bad way or anything like that. Like obviously it does suck to be the
right.
third goalie and whatnot. But I mean, realistically, the only reason why he's still on the roster is because the guys like him. Like otherwise they wouldn't be running the three goalies right now, especially with only 11 forwards. Um so,
hmm
he's a personality hire, so that's
So some people have like started to question, is the team going to cost themselves points by hanging on to this goalie that they don't want to lose potentially on waivers? Um, it's an interesting conversation of like whether you can try to trade him or whether you would rather try to keep him, even if it means trying to sneak him through and losing him for nothing. Like it's a lot of risk reward, but I think as we were talking about, like Jari and Ingram have been so good that it's hard not to see Pickard as the odd man out.
no, exactly.
I think there will eventually be a deal done with Pickard, like as much as the guys might not want it. Um, the way I see this, the way I read into what Stan Bowman's doing is like he's probably giving them a bit of a transition period where you're not just completely shocking the goalie room like you did with Colorado when they acquired Wedgwood Blackwood, shipped out Georgiev and Anunin. You're allowing for a bit of a transition period. Then once the guys know Jari and Ingram better, feel more comfortable around those two, then it allows you to move on from Pickard. I also think that there will be a team that calls at the deadline asking for a goalie, given how many teams in both the West and the East are in contention for a playoff spot. There's invariably going to be a team that either their goalie gets injured or they look at their backup goalie and then they look at Pickard and say, yeah, we might actually roll the dice with Pickard as our backup because our current backup is just not cutting. There will be a team willing to pay not a substantial amount, but still like maybe a fifth or a sixth round pick to be like, we absolutely need this guy. And I believe Stan Bowman will do that. He's going to want to get an asset back for somebody he knows he's not going to resign. It's just a matter of waiting until probably after the Olympic break for a team to be desperate enough to want
Yeah.
to do that.
I think, yeah, I mean, maybe. I do think that's probably something that they're for sure looking at. Like, I think everyone can agree he is the third. He himself has said today he knows he's the third man. But I think the team, putting aside the bit of the personality hire jokes and things like that, I think the team does look at it as he is a good safety blanket. Jari did just come back from injury and has, the last little while has had some injury issues. So, there's some security there. You've seen him step up in the playoffs when needed. So I think the team is looking at it that way so it's not just this feelings kind of thing. I think there is that strategy of, I think in a perfect world they would waive him and send him down and get him playing hockey down there and then call him back up for the playoffs and he's a black ace. But I think Lexi, like I said, if someone's going to trade for him, then someone's going to pick him up off waivers. So you know, you don't do that. So I think that's my personal opinion of the situation is they just don't want to lose him and then regret it in the sense that like, because once realistically, this whole issue's come back because Draisaitl's out of the lineup and Kapanen got injured.
Right.
If those two are in the lineup for these last 3 games, no one's talking really about having this three-headed monster.
I
So
mean, yeah, there's so much like circumstance that goes into who might be looking for a goalie, all that. I mean, you might even argue that um, if he does clear waivers, it makes him more valuable as a trade asset.
yeah,
So it's hard. It's really hard to say because you're just taking it all 32 teams like current decisions hypothetically over the next 2 months. It's like a lot of variables to, and like how much are you going to be handcuffing yourself for the potential of the difference between a seventh and a fifth round pick or whatever it is.
yeah,
It's a lot for, I don't know, a third string goalie.
Yeah, and it's probably not going to be a move that gets made like immediately after the Olympic break either. It's probably going to be one of those like 3:59 p.m. Eastern or whenever is trade deadline day. The team at the last minute comes in and says, "Hey, Stan, we need your goalie and we're willing to pay like this much."
yeah.
Like that's probably going to be a last minute we're this desperate kind of
Yeah, I don't know if, I don't know if the Oilers would get rid of him for seventh unless, like Greg, you were saying that they really need that roster spot or that cap space because it's costing them wins. I think otherwise, unless the team's gonna get desperate, I almost feel like they're like the seventh isn't worth, you know,
Right.
losing that because I mean Unger's doing great down there in the AHL as well, but I think
Yeah.
we always talk about the veterans when it comes to the playoffs and stuff, so I don't think they'd want him
Yeah.
as
And
their
then
security.
part of it is like the Oilers only really want him as a third string. Like any contending team is going to want something similar, probably.
Yeah.
No one's breaking down the doors to make him their backup. So it's likely that most of the other teams are seeing him as a third string as well. Yeah, it's it's tight margins, tight margins.
I mean, what I could also look at potentially is what role Buffalo plays in this, because they're the other really
Mhm.
notable one that ran 3
Yeah.
all season so far, and they also don't know like when they'll be moving one of them out the door and for how much.
Yeah.
I had suggested Colton Ellis, they maybe just hang on to Ellis though, but instead like Alex Lyon was their 1 year guy and they flipped him. So maybe that's what happens if a bidding war gets started over Alex Lyon.
Mhm.
Then the Oilers maybe use that to a bit of leverage of like, okay, it's not apples to apples, but you were willing to pay, I'm just going to throw a random thing out there, a second round pick for Alex Lyon. We're not going to go easy on you when you come over to us and ask for Pickard, and they maybe set it at like a fourth or a fifth round pick, which if you get a mid round pick, that's better than a seventh. Objectively, don't trade Pickard for a seventh, but if you can get like fourth, fifth, even, that's a little more understandable, has a little more chance of success. So I'm wondering if the Sabres maybe end up affecting the plans in that manner.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like they're like if there is a goalie chase, then yeah, they're the first ones for people to call. Although, they're in the playoffs right now too for the first time. Are they looking at a similar situation of, well, these three guys have kind of got us there. Maybe we keep it. I think the last time I can remember a lower seeded team making it to the playoffs with a three-headed goalie monster. They did pretty well from my recollection in 2005, 2006, running three goalies until game one of the Stanley Cup final, which never happened. Um, but no, I know. I actually no. I think you're right though, and I think I think the fifth round pick is exactly it. I think that's the price that if you're the Oilers, you're like, that's that might be worth it. Like that might be worth
Yeah.
the risk that we're talking about. So
I mean, the fifth round pick on its own is maybe not that worth that much, but it could also be like, hey, we already are missing a lot of draft capital. We want to move some more to make some trades, and
exactly.
getting the fifth could be part of something to entice other teams or to like make it palatable for us to start trading a third, things like that.
Well, and even also you free up a roster space, you free up a little bit, of
Yeah.
cap as well. So that fifth is just that sweetener on top of it to make you think, okay,
Right. Yeah.
And teams missing a lot of draft capital will do literally anything to get some of it back. Like Brian Burke with the infamous draft day dealing to get the 2 picks for the Sedins. He says part of the reason that he traded with Atlanta, let them be the first expansion team ever to pick first overall, was not just because he only wanted to go up once and make his life easier, but it's also like we need to recoup some of the picks that we were throwing around to make all of these trades happen and ensure we got the Sedins. So that was why the third for moving up a spot ended up happening for 99.
yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach this situation for sure. But yeah, we
uh,
should see.
so we were thinking maybe we're gonna wrap up with like um how about in honor of Nuge's 1000th game with the team, maybe a favorite Nugent-Hopkins memory. Could even predate his time in Edmonton if you want to go back that far. I have one that
Go for
I
it.
could start with because and I don't have to think too hard. We saw him in a fight this year, but his fight against Justin Hall is like etched into my mind, dropping like a much bigger opponent with like the one punch. It was,
Yeah,
yeah, unexpected, probably. But yeah, I mean, it's just a testament to Nuge. I know he's got like the baby face and the positive attitude, but yeah, he's a Western kid. Like, he's not messing around. It's pretty nails. Like, I remember early in his first couple of years in the league, everyone was worried about the shoulder and like if he
Mhm.
could uh, handle the physicality of the league, and that's a narrative that like quickly went away. Um, and he's been like underrated kind of nails his entire career. Yeah.
That's definitely one of the top ones.
Let Faze go first on this one.
Okay. So actually, I was gonna say either the Hall fight or the Monahan fight where he just went like jackrabbit on him. But
Right.
I don't want to pick two fights, so I'm gonna pick when. Do you guys remember when he deked Lidstrom and the joke was he deked him uh
The Hall of
Yeah, I
Fame.
think I know. Yeah.
he deked him into retirement? Let me see if I can get this. I don't know if I can show the video.
Like,
Okay.
because yeah, like that was Lidstrom's, if I'm not mistaken, last year in the NHL. He
Yes.
retired after Nuge's rookie year, and he's one of the 100 greatest players in NHL history. To be able to do that, it's like it's similar to um, what was there was the guy that wore number 80, and I'm absolutely kicking myself. I can't remember his name, but he had the massive hit on Dustin Brown in Brown's final season. Like,
Oh,
literally levitated him off the ice.
Hmm.
that wasn't Umber? No, that wasn't Umberger, was it?
No.
Was it an Oiler? Or?
It was an Oiler who, like,
Oh.
he only had a couple seasons here. He was, like, once a pretty highly touted prospect, but just, like, never found his game. And he was, like, one of the only players ever to wear number 80. That wasn't a goal.
Hmm.
I'm looking that up.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up because I can't.
Marcus Niemelainen.
Oh, Nemo.
Oh.
Yes. Finding Nemo.
Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah,
I wrote a lot
Nemo
about him.
Linen just screaming Dustin Brown was. That's what the Nuge clip reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah, a legendary player in not their finest moment.
Lexi, do you have your favorite news moment, or did we steal yours?
I'll keep no. Like, thankfully you didn't. But you both picked really good ones. Mine is pretty recent, actually. Like last year, with both McDavid and Draisaitl out of the lineup against Seattle, it's Nuge who's the one to say, "Okay, this team's on my back now, and I'm going to go out and score a hat trick." Like, it took me back in time a decade to when it was like you had Hall, Nuge, Everly, and a lot of hopes and dreams beyond that. And so there were a couple nights during the Decade of Darkness where it was like Nuge had to be the one to step up and actually help the Oilers win the game. And that's what gave me a flashback to of like, well, without McDavid and Draisaitl, it's his team again. And lo and behold, had he to help them win against Seattle when they needed the win to kind of solidify their positioning.
That
Yeah,
was
that's a good choice.
Knew it was going to be like some random game. It was like January 3rd, 2018 against Arizona Coyotes. I don't even
Not
remember.
that random.
I don't actually remember that Seattle game. That's crazy. How am I blanking on it?
I think
Phase. I'm
some of us probably deliberately forgot about that Seattle game because our roster at that point in time was getting pretty decimated with injuries. Because legitimately, Nugent-Hopkins was the most like star caliber forward dressed for us that game. And it was not great.
I don't like this insinuation that Nuge is not a high star level caliber player.
He's a great player. He's one of the best two-way forwards of the 2010s and one of the 2020s, but like he's not McDavid and Draisaitl.
No.
He never tries to be McDavid and Draisaitl.
Well, we were talking about on the chat, Lexi, like about the jersey retirement rule and thoughts on Nuge and exceptions and whatnot.
Some Ryan Smith mentions there.
Yeah. And maybe if you're just a beloved player named Ryan, you get your like Jones, put Jones up there too, then just to make a new rule, a Ryan rule, if you will.
Do we have room for Ryan Patolny?
We always have Ryan. But no, seriously. I mean, like, well, because like we were talking about what are the chances of Nuge making it to the Hall of Fame. Like, so you were a little bit more on board than I was with that. Yeah.
Well, even like so without the personal accolades being there, I kind of look at the Hall of Fame generally has a few things that they look at when considering players' eligibility. Is that they look at how many players and coaches and all that, how many of the selection committee say this is a legitimately good talent that has to go in. Beyond that, the benchmarks that kind of like elevate your case beyond the Stanley Cup are 1,000 games played and 1,000 points.
Yeah.
If you can hit both of those, your chance of making the Hall of Fame is greater than zero, is the best way I can put it.
Right.
And he's obviously gotten 1,000 games out of the way. Great chance that by the end of his career, he's hit 1,000 points because he's already like getting pretty close to 800, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like he didn't get a point, right? So I think he's still at 12.
Yeah, it would basically become like a Kevin Lowe. I almost feel like where the player waits and waits and waits, and eventually down the line they come back on him and say, okay, yeah, you didn't have the greatest stats, but it's hard to deny your impact on the team. Maybe we finally win the cup in the next few years, and they point to that for Nuge as well as like you were a Stanley Cup champion who played over 1,000 games, who got over 1,000 points. That's probably what it would take, and it wouldn't be an instant into the Hall for Nuge.
Right.
No, I mean, I think he would need a cup like that. Without the cup, he would have no chance. He wins the cup, as the third best player on the team, kind of, the third most important forward anyway, arguably, whatever you want to call it. Like
Yeah.
if he wins a cup and he's a big contributor to that, then I think yeah, you start to get that because that's where Kevin Lowe's kind of thing came in. As the guy won 6 Stanley Cups and he was not an insignificant part of each one of those teams. So it's kind of like yeah, maybe that is deserving, and he was considered a very good one of the best defensive defensemen. So, yeah, like, I could see it, but I think even getting that cup, if he gets 1,000 he gets 1,000 points and he gets the cup, I
think
don't know,
it's
it'd have to be a weak class almost for them to I mean, who
Yeah.
knows, though? He's not Alexander McGillney, he's not Russian, so maybe he has a good chance, but, like, that was
And
almost
that's just it. A player of McGillney's stature even had to wait. They are pretty hit or miss
yeah.
with some of their selections. And then what I will say is be thankful that we don't have Detroit's rule because Detroit takes it a step further. Not only do you have to be a Hall of Famer to get your number retired, you also then have to go through what seems like a 10 or more year waiting period to
Oh,
get your banner raised. Like they don't do it right away with Sergei Fedorov. Now,
right.
granted, there was a beef with Fedorov involved as well, but I think somebody pointed out as well that Lidstrom also had to wait a few years after he retired, and um, someone else who had their number raised in the modern era had to wait. Like Detroit's a lot more harsh about it.
Well, I mean, but to be fair for the Oilers, like, if the rule is until you enter the Hall of Fame, like, I think it's a 2-year waiting period after you retire, so technically speaking, there is a waiting period for the Oilers as well.
Yeah, it's
right.
just Detroit's is long.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But,
Yeah.
no,
I don't know.
I feel like that Hall of Fame thing is nice, but I feel like that's not enough for Nuge. I didn't think it was enough for Smith personally either. Like it's fine, like McTavish and Huddy and Waite, like those guys, and I would say Hemsky in the future, even Horkoff. I think that's a really good thing for those players. Like those are guys who are important to the team for sure, and it's nice to recognize them. But I just feel like Smith and eventually Nuge are going to be considered at a higher level in terms of what they've meant to the team and the fans. That I don't know. Is there something in between that you can do? Like,
The only thing I can think of is Calgary, but like their forever aflame thing is also pretty inconsistent. Never really gets executed the greatest.
was that not?
So I would use that as a model.
Is that not the same though as like our Hall of Fame kind of thing? Our Oilers Hall of Fame or Wall of Fame or whatever?
I how's the best way I can describe this from what I understand is like they would do it for a player where yeah, I it not so much because with the Oilers Hall of Fame, there's players in there like Lee Fogelin where their numbers have been reused.
Mhm.
Whole idea of the forever flame, if I'm remembering this correctly, is they didn't want to necessarily go full out number retirement,
Mhm.
but they also wanted to like honor the player and make clear that like you were only getting this number if you politely asked for it.
I see.
Something along those lines. It's like it's a pseudo number retirement in some aspects, and it never made the greatest sense. Like either retire the number or don't, or create your own team Hall of Fame, which they never did.
Right. Yeah, I know that's not great. I think personally, the Hockey Hall of Fame rule is just because and honestly, I don't even understand why it was a rule. Like it almost sounded like it was a rule made so that they didn't have to retire Lowe's number, and then he got in, and they're like, "Well, all right." I guess now we got to do it. Because like when you think about it, look at those players. If none of those players got in the Hall of Fame, those players' numbers are all getting retired. And arguably those was gonna get retired if it wasn't for the Hall of Fame rule. Like I don't know what what purpose that Hall of Fame rule really
Yeah, I,
has.
I mean, I personally, I would be like, man, we're not waiting for other people to make our decisions for us. Like, if I want to honor this or retire that, like, I'm gonna do it. I don't care what some other place thinks. Like Nuge, could be very well like the games played leader for this team. Like,
By a
it's such
lot.
a significant part of the team for so long. Like, if it's if you want to do it, do it. Yeah. Who cares what other people think?
I think teams like Arizona, when they were still around, were doing it best. Like Arizona didn't, after they moved from Winnipeg, they didn't retire a number, I'm pretty sure, until Shane Doan.
Yeah, I
And
think
it's like, okay, Shane Doan wasn't going to be a Hall of Famer, but like he was literally Mr. Coyote for 2 decades. And you're like, yes,
Right.
you're going to retire that guy's number. Like I agree with that. There has to be something said, like once in a while you bend the rules for a guy who isn't going to have a greatest case for the Hall of Fame. But for instance, Smitty, he has literally a bar in Commerce Place named after him, Bar 94. Like, if you are that status of legend in the city of Edmonton, you should be allowed an exception.
yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, and it's the same point. He's the Shane Doan of those late '90s, early 2000 Oilers teams. Is he was the face of the franchise. Um, I can't remember. I think it was Jack Michaels was saying on the broadcast that, Smith was never the best player on the team. And I disagree with that. He mentioned Doug Weight, and I was like, okay, if that's what you're thinking, that's fine. Objectively speaking, Doug Waite's a better player. But it's like there was many years where Smith would be considered our best player, not just the heart and soul, but also kind of
I
leading.
give Jack a pass as well because you think, like, if you think from Jack's perspective,
Mhm.
Smitty did come back around in 2011 and played 3 more seasons here. Those weren't necessarily the best 3 seasons of Ryan Smith's career. And he
That
came
first,
in at a time where you had Hall, Nuge, Everly, and the like. So I give Jack a bit of a pass because he wasn't here for those 2000s teams. So like it might not be
yeah,
it would be like if I were to go and start calling games for let's put a random scenario out there. The Toronto Maple Leafs reach out to me and say, "Hey, we've seen your calls."
yeah, and no, and like that's what I'm saying though, is that's what I mean, is that like Smith, from like the outside looking in for someone who's not an Oilers fan would again kind of have that view that okay, he's decent player or whatever. But as an Oilers fan, you're like, no, he was such a big deal, right? Like, and that's what I'm getting at is that this Hockey Hall of Fame rule, and it's like what Greg, it's like what you said, we're letting other people make our decisions for us. It's like we know who contributed to the team enough to have their jersey be worthy of retiring. So I think Smitty should get retired. I think Nugent should get retired. It'll look great, 93 and 94. Then you got 97, 99. Pods, I think, tracking to get that. 92,
Yeah,
okay.
92. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
98 is like,
Yes, he played every.
Oh.
well, so the 98 thing I feel like kind of got a bit like overblown. I don't want to say
Oh,
that, but like, well, here's what happened. So when Joey Moss passed away, they ended up setting up a jersey for him in the Oilers Hall of Fame room. It has the split Oilers and Elks. And it's a jersey number 98, which
oh,
I'm pretty sure Joey might have actually like worn 98 out there a couple of times. So initially we all thought it was like, okay, yeah, it's because Jim Matheson or whoever it was like, no, you can't wear 98 because it's too close to McDavid and Gretzky. I think they probably low key took that number out of circulation as a subtle honor to Joey Moss. And again, like similarly to Ryan Smith, they'll never raise the banner necessarily. But that 98 in the Hall of Fame room is going to be kind of that is Joey Moss's.
Right.
That's the vibe I get for that.
No, and that's fair. Send Drysdale to change to. Well, I guess you got Wallman at 96. So we just need someone to wear 95.
Is
Maybe.
Kapanen
I'm
wearing
surprised
95?
Roslovic didn't. He had that number in either Columbus or Carolina. I forget which one.
I thought he had 96.
I think in Carolina he had 96. Then they acquired Rantanen, and Rantanen wanted
Right,
96.
you're
So
right.
he switched to
Yeah.
95.
So he was 96 in Carolina. I don't know what he switched to, though.
He switched to 95 when Rantanen came back, and then when Rantanen came to Carolina, and then when Rantanen moved on, I don't know if he switched back or kept 95.
So he switched to 98, it looks like, from this one tweet I found.
Oh, he switched to 98. Why did I think it was 95?
Yeah, it looks similar.
I don't know. It's the Carolina Hurricanes. Their jersey history is a
I try not to look at
wild
their
ride.
So what do you think, everyone? Do we want to call it there? Does anyone have anything else they want to hit?
Not that I can
Not
think.
really.
I think we basically covered everything we could. I mean, we got Crosby, McDavid tomorrow, but not really anything.
It's a big game. Yeah.
Skinner's not playing.
Oh, the back seat. I was gonna ask FaZe, like, do you think that you have gone to more games this season than Jake Wallman has played? He's at 22.
In terms of home game, there's a very real possibility.
How many do you go to?
I have not counted it, and
You
and,
refuse to.
I kind of don't want to get. You know what's hilarious? So the Oilers had this contest. They called it Fanuary, and it's like 'cause they have 12 home games, I think, in January.
Oh, okay.
If you go to every single home game and check in, you like are entered into a draw for a chance to win a trip or something. So in my head, I feel like if you go to every single like give us all a keychain or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to the Nugent game,
Oh,
and I think that's the one game I didn't go to this month.
wow.
And of course, that's the one game to not miss. But here we are. Actually, let me double check and see. I went to the game against Philly. I went to the game against Nashville. I didn't go to the game against the Kings. Okay, so there was 2 games.
You've missed more than one.
And the Kings, they honored Draisaitl.
Yeah, right. I was there for when they honored Henrique.
There you go.
Yeah, is that more or less than last year, do you think?
I think I might be at more, and I'm going to the one tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
My friend just like texted me. He was like, "You want to go?" And I was like, "I guess."
Say less.
I can't wait to go to those games.
I mean, the one positive, you rack up the loyalty rewards.
It's true. I got a $10 skip the dishes gift card.
There you go.
Yeah, I have last minute tickets. Really,
Yeah.
changed
Can't help yourself.
life. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening to the Torp. Thanks, Lexi, for joining on, the first ever guest. You did
The
a
Torp.
great
Thanks for having
news
me.
memory.
Mhm.
So hope to see you again soon, and we're gonna have a new segment. I think we're workshopping the name, but for our listeners, stay tuned for Lexi something or another when they have strong opinions. So yeah, thanks everyone, and remember to check out the Oil Rig, where all 3 of us write articles, so you can, when you're missing our voices and need a new episode, you can get your fill by reading on our website. So thanks again, and go Oilers.